G'day, a very quick video. Today is Saturday, 2:36 p.m. I'm in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It's the 8th of July 2000. I wanted to quickly go into the current ceasefire agreement between Putin and Trump, how predictable, and also my phone call to the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, or the Foreign Office in Australia, which is the equivalent of the State Department in the US. And I speak to an assistant to do with Foreign Minister Julie Bishop and her refusal to ensure publicly the integrity of the upcoming legal case in the High Court, which looks like it will not go ahead because money has fallen through. I will tell you that I thought I can't deal with it if this fails again. So 6 weeks have been wasted again. It's not the gentleman's fault. It's a Lebanese businessman in Sydney. He was waiting on his debtors to pay him back. A couple of debtors owed him a substantial amount of money. He was waiting to be paid, and they've just come out and said, we're not paying you. And it looks like he has to take him to court. So that's come out of the blue. How surprising. Are you surprised? Anyway, I will tell you that I have been steam coming out of my ears. I'm going to tomorrow start the process of a very detailed video. I'm going to show you the lawyers' emails to me, to associates, and show how keen senior counsel Anthony Morris, I'm going to name him now, he didn't want to be named, but you're going to see he's a big time silk or Queen's Counsel or senior counsel. This was a big case that was going to come up. It's again money, and I'm going to try and embarrass the Arab Muslim world to just pay the money into the appropriate account and get this fucking High Court case going, because I've had enough. I'm also already rung previously the Foreign Minister's office and the local Kuala Lumpur consulate or ambassador, or DFAT, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and said, what do I have to do? Do I have to land at Sydney Airport and stab someone in an eye? Stop ignoring me. My case is, I'm going to stop there. But I assure the Malaysian government I'm no risk to you, I'm no risk to embarrassing you. In 2 weeks I have to get out of the country and I have $500. Now, money's always important. If you can donate, please. But the problem is to end this garbage as soon as possible. I have to end it. I can't do this anymore. All right? When you have the Israeli state come out against you, you're in another ballpark, and a lot of people don't get it. That's why the senior international correspondent for Press TV, Hamid Faroli, promised me a 20-minute documentary, which Press TV refused to fund, and Hamid ended up telling me that Press TV is run by a bunch of tossers who are probably embezzling all the funds. That's how bad Press TV is. That's straight from the mouth of their senior international correspondent. That's why you've never seen anything on it, because Iran never touches Israel on matters of importance. If we look now, Trump, Putin reached Syria ceasefire agreement. How predictable. I've said it in my videos. Others have said it. It's nothing but a ploy to get Russia into the reason. They're going to divide up Syria. They're already saying right here, where is it, that there will be no dealing with Assad, and they're just organising how Assad leaves is yet to be determined. Tillerson told reporters at the G20 in Hamburg there will be a transition away from the Assad family. How predictable. I said it directly in this, where is that video? I said this is what they do. BB, where are you, BB? Where I talked about BB being fully compromised. This is 2-3 months ago. I said this is exactly how it was going to transpire. Trump is a 100% owned pedo. By BB Netanyahu, and this was how many months ago? Let's have a look. April the 15th, so April, May, June, July. So that's almost 3 months ago. I said exactly in that video that they'll split it up into 3 sections: US, Putin, UN or something, safe zones, and then Assad will be told to leave. How predictable. We're then going to see perhaps BB with now Russia on his flank. Russia's not particularly interested in human rights or Russians, and seeing as a bunch of Russians seem to run Israel, a bunch of Polish and Russian Slavs appear to have taken over the Holy Land. We're going to see the Gaza Strip cleansed, and of course there should be some nice safe zones in Syria to dump the 3 million Palestinians who need to be transferred out of the country. That's got to be done very soon, the West Bank as well. And you know, Russia's there, it'll protect the new gas and gas developments going on in Israel. And of course you've noticed that Israel is now doing a deal with Germany, 3 new submarines which will be paid for in gas. They're going to pay Germany and gas. So now Putin's got a trifecta. He's now in a major player in the Middle East. He can influence oil and gas prices, get them nice and high. He can also prevent any independent development through Syria, running a gas pipeline, oil pipeline, whatever, up into Europe. So now Europe is totally dependent on Russian oil and gas, Russian energy. That's perfect. Maybe Trump's going to dismantle NATO again. I've said it all in these videos. I've just put up a new, what do you call it? A new playlist. It's called War is Theatre, the Fraud of the Current US-Israeli-Russia Standoff. And I've put all the relevant videos you would want to watch where I have personally said, and others have said, I'm not the only one, but I've been saying it pretty loud and proud for a while, that it's all fraud. It's a staged event. Staged. People have said they can't stage it. They can stage it. They've got the Tavistock Institute. They've got the money, the resources, and the control of the media. This is all about Soviet Union 2.0, New Lies for Old, Anatoly Golitsyn. And thank you very much for Christopher John Berknes for your patting me on the head and then associating what I talk about with, and you have talked about it too, obviously, but trying to associate me with, the white race is going to take over the world. I mean, dear God, man, are you for real? Oh, fuck, it's so hopeless. Anyway, so you're going to see just how theatrical that is. The Arab Muslim world is getting sucked in. No one's talking about the fact that the Iranians are running around all over the Middle East creating trouble as well under the Shia. The Shia got to pull their head in and get back in their box. I bet you they've done a deal all the way to the east bank of the Euphrates. I bet you. They're gonna literally, they've been told you're gonna have control of that whole region. And then you're gonna put all that oil and gas money and energy money into British banks, aren't you, Iran? I know what you're up to. God willing, the more conservative elements who wanted peace with the Middle East Gulf states, who wanted Muslims to get together under Mahmoud Ahmadinejad previously, God willing, they're going to get back in. Because this Rouhani crowd, this old Rafsanjani billionaire revolutionary crowd, are clearly not working for the interests of anti-imperial West, and that's fine. But you are trading on a false premise. You trade as if you were the number one place to go for anti-Israel sentiment, and you can barely mention Israel. In fact, Rouhani only just recently came out and said an amazing insight that Israel is the cause of all these problems. Indeed, they are. I'm not interested in Saudi or the Gulf states. They are bagmen. All right, I'm interested in Israel. And for all you Putin lovers, you tell me once when Vladimir Putin has said Israel is controlling all this, Israel have funded and created ISIS from the beginning. Has he said a freaking word? No, he hasn't. I mean, it's so obvious what Putin is. You've got to have rocks in your head that you don't get it. The only question is how much is he in the pocket of our traditional enemy? Or is he just a Russian nationalist who's taking advantage? I still tend towards the Russian nationalist having taken advantage of a situation. But I'm not so sure anymore that this is not a very communist, Jewish Bolsheviks, old standard, literal Soviet era 2.0 game going on here. New Lies for Old, Anatoly Golitsyn. So I said Assad would be asked to leave. I just didn't get the time frame right. I thought it would be a few weeks. It's turned out to be 3 months. Walla walla walla. You really need to ask people like the amazing analysis of fucktards like Ryan Dawson. I mean, these copy and paste people, their only ability is to read something on the internet and then regurgitate it on Press TV or Russia Today. You need to ask yourself who's giving you some decent analysis. And God willing, pretty soon I'll be teaming up with Nick Spiro, Renegade Broadcasting. He's off on his own now. Again, Nick's going to make a statement about his views on the whole white nationalist movement, that there's no racial stuff. We want races to get together. We do not want races and ethnicity split apart. There's only one group that wants the races at each other's throat, and that's Israel. And we have got to come together, and we've especially got to slap the Iranian government in the face and tell them to get the hell back into Iran and mind their own damn business. They've got plenty of resources in there. They're working for British intelligence via and I'm talking about the privatised British intelligence under the City of London and Rothschild, via Swiss and German banking, and they have been promised an empire. They told it straight to my face at the Persian Gulf Study Centre. They were going to have all the stands, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, and they were moving into the Middle East. And like I said, they wouldn't talk about Israel, but they freaking talked about the Gulf states all day. So now you have Iranians killing a lot of Arab Muslims with the assistance now of Putin, because not everyone's an ISIS beheader. There's a lot of people very peeved right with Assad, and I've kept quiet a lot, but Assad is no freaking angel to say the least. But what we don't want is what Israel wants, which is a bunch of Shia and Sunni killing each other. Because at the moment that's what Israel wants, and Iran is doing their bidding. Iran is in there. That's why the Sunni majority in the Gulf states are up in arms. That's why they're willing to fund elements of ISIS. They're not funding head choppers directly, going, oh goody, head choppers. All right, that is ISIS. That is creations of Israel, the Israeli intelligence services, and a lot of these people are Israeli citizens, Arabic-speaking citizens, born in Iraq, born in Syria, like Yisrael Hassoun, who was the former head of the Shin Bet, who's a Syrian Jew. They are running those teams, just slaughtering and killing and lopping off heads, all off their heads on meth. They're supplying drugs to them, methamphetamine and cocaine. You don't know about that, do you? But they are. And on we go. So we need to get this guy Putin back in his box too. and realize that they have an agent in the White House. Benjamin Netanyahu and Vladimir Putin have their own personal agent bitch in the White House in the form of Donald J. Trump, and it's time people got on board and saw what is before their eyes. Again, that is the war is theatre, the fraud of the current US-Israel-Russia standoff. Just watch those videos. If you haven't watched them before, just watch them. Take them all in. Take them all in. And look at this handshake here. Who's the boss in that? Who's the boss there? Who's the boss there? Who's putting his hand palm up to say, I know who the boss is? Theatre. It's all freaking theatre. It's nothing but drug money laundering, drug trafficking, weapons selling, organ trading, child fucking sex freaking rings. It's the Middle East is just out of control. Out of control. Because we're allowing these continual frauds to go ahead, and it needs to stop. I'm now going to show you quickly, briefly, I'm going to do a very professional level video. As you can see, I'm slightly obnoxiously furious about the lack of funding that's come through. I said I can't stand another disappointment. I'm going to do a proper video on it very shortly, but here's where I ring the office of the Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop, in Canberra. This is like you ringing the US State Department in an attempt to speak to, I don't know, Hillary Clinton when she was there. Just have a little listen. G'day, Brendon O'Connell here. We are going to call the office of the Foreign Minister, Julie Bishop. I've rung them before, threatened them before a couple of weeks ago, said do I have to land at Sydney Airport and stab someone in the eye with a sharp pencil to get your attention? I demand assistance regarding this incredible case I'm involved in. And its significance, that's years ago, that was relevant, right? And I directly involved being treated like...
Now, there is, as you'll imagine...
This is Leon. Now, when I did this before, I rang her electorate office and spoke to Tess. They charged me with making a private telephone call public. I was found guilty because I left the country before it could be heard. They delayed it for 2 years. That case, I had them by the balls on that, my lawful interest and the public interest. And it's the same in this case. It's my lawful interest and the public interest that I'm making this public without Leon, the assistant to the Foreign Minister's office, knowledge. Leon. Common name from somewhere.
And there is a process involved in the office, and it does have to go through advisors. So I would have to follow it up with advisors before I could give you any more information.
Understood, but this has been going on for 3 years now, and longer, 8 years, but 3 years since I got out of jail. It's not like they don't know this. I've got High Court synopsis. I've got heads of counter-terrorism inviting me out for lunch. I've got admissions that the minister is calling me. Joe Francis, 32 minutes. We were not discussing the weather. I'm not a kook. I'm mentally ill, probably, after 8 years of this hell. But this is not new.
And I completely understand, but with regard to the email on the 26th, as I mentioned, I can see it, and I will raise it again with the staff here. But as far as the process goes, I can't really do anything about the process.
Right, the process. So I hope you're getting what I'm going to do is I'm going to force the Australian government, whatever I have to do to get them. I'm going to meeting with DFAT, that's the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade here in Kuala Lumpur. If I have to go via the Malaysian government, I'm going to approach them as well. This has to be sorted right here, right now. We need full parliamentary inquiry into my case. It needs to head to the High Court. It needs to be funded. And I'm going to explain to you very soon over the next few days how important the High Court case is, because you're going to get on High Court Australian documents. And remember, they're very close to the UK and the British lawyers, Jeffrey Robinson, big human rights lawyers. This is going to get around, all right? Now, I'll just show you the lawyer who was to do it. He didn't want to be named. Well, I'm going to name him because I've got nothing to lose and I'm sick of this shit. And I wanted these guys to do an interview. And I said, if you do an interview, it's one thing for the ranter, Brendon O'Connell, to be ranting about how important the case is, and it's another matter when a very experienced, very well-known senior counsel, Queen's Counsel, Anthony Morris QC, they call him senior counsel now, that's him there. He didn't want to be named. Well, I'm naming him, and I'll show you the emails in a later video where they're very keen. His offside of Callum is, yes, I know all about O'Connell's case, and I've been telling Anthony all about it. Very keen. We just needed the 10 grand to get things moving. We need him to do an interview, and I've contacted them. I've sent emails. No one's got back to me, so fuck you all. Morris, you don't want to do it anymore, that's fine, but I'm naming you. You wanted to do it. I've got the emails from your offsider saying you want to do it, and it's time it was funded. And I think the Arab Muslim world in particular, some of the richest people in the world are Palestinians and Lebanese, and I've been in contact with a few people. God willing, someone's going to go, I think we need to get this case into the High Court where matters involving the Israeli state coming out against me personally, the Israeli ambassador Yuval Rotem, the Israeli deputy foreign minister Danny Ayalon, the Australian foreign minister Stephen Smith, and 135 local and federal members of parliament. It was incredible. It was an international incident. Why do you think they came? It's never happened before, ever. I've seen the hoo-ha when David Irving was taking on Deborah Lipstadt, and the Israeli ambassador in the UK came and sat in the gallery, and it was an outcry. Oh my God, that's nothing compared to what they've done. So, just to reiterate, oh yeah, I've been suicidal at times. I am mentally ill without question. I just can't handle it anymore. It's just delay after delay after delay. I'm being delayed on purpose. The Australian government could end it like that. So I'm going to ask for a meeting, demand a meeting, and contact the Malaysian government as well. That the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, we have a meeting on neutral ground out of Australian consular areas with the Malaysian government somewhere in a room, and I get some assurances for my safety, my family's safety, and if you worry about my safety, I address this in a video. I will show you where. In this video, watch this video and you'll see how dangerous Western Australia is and what an absolute cesspool of South African Jewish Israeli corruption it is. Go and look at this video here. Freemason Jewish corruption of police and prison officers. And I go into intimate detail. Yes, the Australian intimate. There's Joe Francis. By the way, that's the minister who rang me and said, I'm more scared of my own prison officers. But he had a Special Forces commander, James McMahon, had his back. And he rang me and spoke to me for 32 minutes. A call that is not in dispute. And it's all in that video. Freemason Jewish corruption of police, prison officers, and organised crime. And that's in Western Australia. Watch that video and you'll understand the danger my family and my friends and that are in. They don't really know about it. I just told a sister, she's chucked to shits. I've had to report my comments because, oh, fuck, I'll have to kill myself or something to get their attention. She said, I've got to be careful. I don't want to be associated with this. I've gone to authorities. They're so fucking good. And get your life in order after I spent $8,000 on you cleaning out your shithole house. I've a good mind to publish the photos of my sister's house. I might embarrass her into getting a life. Then that's how much money I've spent on my fucking family. Every time I get money, I spend it on fucking someone else. And I'm pissed off about it. And I'm pissed off with this case, and I'm pissed off with the Arab Muslim world fucking around with all your money, your coke parties, your Russian whores, you're all fucking in your fucking Dubai nightclubs. While people like Kevin, a whole range of activists are working on nothing. Well, you party it up at your coke parties. So all you Arab Muslims in America with loads of cash, I think it's about time you started funding us. What do you think? Okay? I think it's about time. And I'm over being nice about it because it's gone on long enough. It's a fucking joke. So my high court case is the case of cases to push forward. So many things will be addressed at the highest level of a court on land in a modern parliamentary, alleged democracy. That's really big, and I'm not sure how I can convince you of that, but I'm going to do a very detailed video in the very near future. I hope you got your attention. I am fucking pissed. I am no risk to myself or others, particularly in Malaysia. I would never embarrass the Malaysian government, but it's time to put some pressure on the Australian government. I'm going to formally approach the Malaysian government and formally ring DFAT, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, and I'm going to demand a meeting and stop this bullshit. Otherwise, one day there might be a coronial inquiry and you're going to have to explain a lot of crap because there's enough people who've downloaded and spread these videos around. You're not going to get out of it. I've done everything by the book. I've written the letters. I've made the phone calls. I've been very good. And you do nothing but ignore me, laugh at me, mock me, and just fucking ignore me. And I've had enough. And particularly when I have Inspector Barry Shelton say, we all respect your work, like a moron, and then emails me after I have a fight with his scumbag former drug squad. I mean, WA so corrupt. Officers who are then sucking up my bum after threatening me, as if I'm going to work with those scum. And then I have a minister in charge of prisons call me for 32 minutes, October 10, 2014. Call not in dispute, all discussed in that video, and about the massive corruption between organised crime, the Troy McCanty family, the phone calls out of the jails, the prison officers totally corrupt, the police are totally corrupt, they're dealing all the drugs. It's a joke. The whole state is a joke. It's industrial scale. Or even the head of the meth task force, Inspector Tom Clay, is a fraud worth millions. And now they've stopped the police commissioner selection process in Western Australia now, and it's because of me. I'm telling you now, the place is that rotten. Someone hopefully has decided via our Eastern States task force to come over and clean out that shithole called Western Australia, who has the nerve to lecture Malaysia and other Asian nations on corruption. Dear God, look in your own backyard, please. So there. So just to clarify, my mental state is one of relaxation. I'm going to work with Nick Spiro. We're going to be doing some shows into the future, and I'm just got to keep up the pressure as best I can and make formal approaches to the Malaysian government and the Australian government. You got to sort this out. You can't ignore this. I mean, the video, people said, do you have any proof the Israeli ambassador came out against you? Yeah, it's only on video. They put the Friends of Israel Western Australia website up and put it on YouTube. Still up. I've got them all anyway. There's the Foreign Minister Stephen Smith. There's the Deputy Foreign Minister Danny Ayalon. There's the Ambassador, and then there's all their little page 3 where people like Steve Lieblich, and the keynote speaker is Stanley Elliott Keyser, the guy who brought the charges against me, and there I am out the front, and there's a report on the highly successful Friends of Israel rally brought in direct response to Brendon O'Connell, and we admit that we brought this forward before the trial to highlight the support for Israel. It's criminal contempt of court. That intimidated the entire court process. It's huge. I'm trying to get your attention to realise how big this case is. It needs to be funded to the High Court. I'm going to shut up. There you go. Whatever. I don't give a shit anymore. Just know that I've got to work hard now, harder than ever, to push this as hard as I can. And, if I have to land at Sydney Airport, is that what you're going to force me to do? Because you're just saying, oh, just ignore him. No. You're not going to do that. You're going to rebuke the Israeli state publicly. You're going to have, and that's just me making a point, not the 666, everyone. Put down your text Mars books now. You're going to rebuke the Israeli ambassador and the Israeli state for interfering in a sovereign nation's legal process. You are also going to organise a parliamentary inquiry. We will have this discussion face to face, which if I see you're actually serious, I will be discreet about. I have previously offered to pull down my blogs, pull down everything once I see that things are moving forward. And even Anthony Morris, that lawyer who we just looked at, got word to me, no, leave everything up. The whole point is free speech and all that other stuff. You don't bring it down, you leave it up. But I'll do whatever it takes to sort this out for my own preservation. But I want $400,000, I want that High Court case, and I want a parliamentary inquiry into this whole fucking debacle. You owe that to the Australian people. You don't publicly do what you did and then pretend it never happened. It's all online. And they just sit there going, whoops. You're fucking retarded, incompetent, bureaucratic morons. That's all I've discovered. So anyone that tells you it's all conspiracy, you know what? Sometimes 30% conspiracy, 70% bureaucratic incompetence. They are incompetent. Man, I'm telling you now, they sacked the head of the Office of National Assessments, Bruce Gingle, over me, because Bruce Gingle and all the ASIO boys and all these big intelligence briefing people missed what was staring them in the face. Telpiot, Unit 8200, Israeli domination of the high technology sector, kill switches, backdoors, you name it. They missed it. I mean, it was only on YouTube, only on Fox News, only on a Google search, only on YouTube. I mean, come on, man. That's embarrassing. You deserve everything you get. Parliamentary inquiry or bust, whatever I have to do. If we have to have a coronial inquiry in the end, I just, I don't know, turn up dead at the airport. My friend Assia, God bless Assia, long history of depression, decided to go out in a blaze of glory, went to Mexico, got a bunch of barbiturates, and then just landed at Sydney Airport, made the news, dead. Whatever I have to do, you have got to stop ignoring this fucking case and fix it. You can fix it with a face-to-face meeting right here, right now, and you know it. And I've had a fucking enough of you. You fucking disgust me, you competent fucks. Final, Malaysian government, I'm angry, but I'm certainly not suicidal. Certainly not. But I'm going to force the Australian government. They have got to do it. It is a matter of our own national sovereignty and our own protection of our legal and political process. It's vital. It's not just about me. Israel cannot be allowed to get away with this. Have a great weekend.